Hey, welcome back. Josh Hardy here with Hardy Brothers Outdoors. Today we've got my 2032 John Deere compact tractor. It's a 2017 model. I'm just about to hit 175 hours on it in a little bit under 3 years. And I want to talk to you about a couple things. One, we're going to talk about what my goals were when I bought it, what I actually got when I made my first purchase, 3 things that I like about it, 3 things that I don't like about it, and then what's changed since I purchased and what other considerations I may have made. So let's get into it. All right, so here's the situation. When I bought the 2032R, I was upgrading from a Massey Ferguson GC 2300. I bought that used when I bought this property. It was about 70 acres of property. I've got a 4-acre pond that I'm maintaining. A lot of wooded land, but I need to mow somewhere around 5 to 6 acres. And then I have a pasture that's about 6 acres that I like to try to mow and keep down the invasives twice a year. So what's changed? Well, I needed a mower, but I needed something more versatile than a mower. And so I started looking around. The 1025R was too small. It would have been great to maintain the yard, but probably not so much up in the woods. So I went with the 2032R. I purchased it with an upgraded bucket where they actually had to weld on these hooks because they were out of the bucket that I wanted. I have the 72D mid-mounted mower, and I have the backhoe as well. So those were the core items that I purchased when I first made the buy. I also got the upgraded LED lights. I got the quick disconnect for the front end loader. I can put in the details of the video about what I paid for all of that. Happy to share that, what that was 3 years ago. All right, so here's what I love most about this tractor. First of all, this has got to be the most versatile tractor that I've seen. I would have gone with the 2038, but they were out of stock at the time, so I would have always traded up for that extra horsepower. But I actually haven't had any major issues with the horsepower on the 32. I'll talk at the end about some things I can't do that I wish I could. But the versatility of this thing. I use it for mowing the yard. I use it for some of the timber stuff that I'm doing, skidding wood, hauling the sawmill, grooming trails in the woods. I use it on food plots, tilling, spreading fertilizer, spraying. This thing has about everything that I need. The next thing that I really like about it is, in part of that versatility comes the versatility and the availability of all of the attachments. 5-foot attachments are usually standard for this size tractor, and I have got a long list of attachments. I'm going to list them up here. Check the ones that I already have videos for, like the skidder and the Femco sprayer. I've got some additional ones coming soon, but if you'd like to see any of these reviewed, please leave a comment below. And so the availability and the affordability of the attachments is great. Everything that I could want, I can pick up. And the last thing is stability. So I'm on a lot of hills here. I had to have 4-wheel drive. I cannot mow my yard without 4-wheel drive from a safety perspective. I did go ahead and get the wheel spacers on the rear wheels, and that's helped. I would have liked to have had filled tires, but a lot of times when I'm mowing here it's wet, and that would just destroy the yard. So I got to mow when I'm here, and I don't have the flexibility to mow whenever I want. So so far I haven't filled the tires. So those are the 3 things that I really like about it. Extremely versatile. Availability and affordability of the attachments, and the stability of the tractor. All right, so there's lots of things I like about it. Well, there's things I don't like about it, and honestly, so far there's not enough things I don't like about it that I would ever steer somebody away from this. I think it just comes down to your personal use case, what you need, and how you're going to use it. The first one, and I'm actually going to add 2 in here, are a little bit kind of piddly. The first one is there's no toolbox. So there's a glove box, but I can't put the size tools in there that I need to maintain this thing when I'm out on the back of the property. So that I don't really care about. The nice thing about that glove box is it's got a charger in there for my phone, so that's kind of nice. I'll group in there another kind of piddly little item, which is the location of the key. When I get in and out, I've bent several keys. I see people talk about this all the time, where their keys are breaking off. It's just a poor design where they put the key. So my key's bent, still works, hasn't broken off yet, and I think about it every time before I get in there. And so the second kind of more major one is the lifting capacity on this tractor. So obviously whenever you lift, you need ballast, and I've got plenty of attachments to use as a ballast. I've even got a ballast box. But now that I'm doing new things where I need a higher lift capacity, I'm finding that it just doesn't quite have that lifting oomph that I'd like it to have. And then the third, and maybe most concerning, but not necessarily showstopper for me, is there are bolts that keep coming loose on the front axles. Now I've seen from others on forums that have lots of experience with heavy machinery and heavy equipment say that's normal, check your bolts. You know what, since I found this, and I had bolts that were completely missing, bolts that are finger tight. I just looked at it before I did this video. I've got another bolt missing. So these are in the front axle, and I had bolts just falling out finger tight at 125 hours, and I had just recently had it in for service. So I'm going to go on and do a paint mark on all of those so that I can keep an eye on them a little bit more real time every time I use it. But I use this thing. I mean, so it's not all clean. I need to make some sort of visual indicator so I can see that. So 3 things I don't like about it. No toolbox in the key location. Poor design. If you have a toolbox idea or an aftermarket one that you've added, I haven't found a great solution for that, knowing that I have the backhoe. That kind of gets in the way a little bit. If you have one, leave it in the comments for me, please. I'd love to hear about it. 2 was the lift capacity, and you're just not going to get around that. That is what it is for this size tractor. Maybe in that 38 horsepower, I would have picked up a few extra, 50, 100 pounds of lift capacity. I'm not sure. And then 3, a little bit of a quality concern, and I've seen that concern on 2 Series, 3 Series, and 4 Series tractors owners saying that those bolts are falling out. So John Deere, you should really take a look at this and make sure that when you're shipping these tractors that's taken care of. Huge safety concern, I believe. If you haven't seen the video, I'll post a link of it up here. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was what's changed. What of my needs have changed that maybe would have caused me to think differently, or things that I should have added at the time of purchase. So one of the things that changed is, if you've been watching any of our videos, we have the Habitat Oasis project, which is an additional 80 acres on the back of the property. Jason and I are managing that property, so our land under management has grown significantly, and of that 80, about 50% of that is fields and grasses that we are trying to return to native habitat. So there's a lot more mowing being done. Bigger attachments would help if we had this tractor had the ability to do a bat wing or something like that. But again, I'm not ready to go there yet, not ready to upgrade to that. So that has changed. I purchased a sawmill, and I now have a skidding winch that I use, which this tractor's a little questionable when it's pulling some of these logs. And then the lift capacity, I didn't imagine that I was going to need to lift big logs and move them around the property or drag them around the property. So that may actually cause me to revert back to the Massey, which I still have, as my preferred mower, and turn this into a little bit more of the field tractor, woods tractor, and go ahead and get the tires filled. So that's something I'm still trying to decide whether I do that or not. And I will do a full review of the mid mower. I have the auto connect, and I also have the command cut, which allows you to just dial up the height. And I mean, it's pretty nice, don't get me wrong. and I have the backhoe, and I'll do full reviews on those at another time. The other thing that I realized that I needed and I didn't get, we're doing a lot of land clearing back here on the Habitat Oasis. So we're knocking over autumn olive, we're stacking it. I'm using pallet forks to do that. A third function grapple, or third function for my hydraulics to run a grapple. Wish I'd have done that. Now I don't have a trailer to trailer this back to Deere, and I haven't gone through the steps to figure out how easy it is to install or not. I think there's a third function called the Artilian third function that it seems that a lot of people are doing it themselves. I haven't looked into it yet, but if I ever put it in for service, I usually have things added. I had to have the dual select control valve put on the back so that I could run my offset ditch flail mower. And I had Power Beyond installed at the beginning, but I wish I had just tricked it out with as many of the hydraulics that I could have from the beginning, because that's something I don't necessarily want to mess with. So those are kind of the key things that I wish I had known before. More hydraulics, and understanding what my end needs were for the tractor. Now, we also have a 4052R that Jason has purchased, and the only things that I haven't been able to do with this tractor that he's doing, he's lifting some of these bigger logs that I can't even move with my tractor. And lastly, we rented a no-till drill to put in native warm season grasses on the back 80 on the Habitat Oasis, and there is no way that my tractor would actually be able to pull that, and it's more of a weight thing. We're on hills. It's a little dicey getting to the back. If this was all flat ground, maybe I could pull a drill, maybe not. And actually those warm season drills are a little bit lighter than soybean and corn drills, but he's pulled that. We got a great video of him using that with the 4052R. So there's things, right? I mean, we've got the 1025R, we got the 2032R, and the 4052R here, plus that Massey Ferguson GC 2300, and each one of them kind of has its place. So I would just say, after 3 years, 175 hours, I am a huge fan of the 2032R. Highly recommend it. Would I have gone to the 2038R if I could have? Yes. Only because, as I always say, same with outbuildings, it can never be too big. I think you can probably never have too much horsepower, in this size footprint where I was trying to get that Swiss Army knife versatility. I got it in this tractor. And you'll notice from this tractor that this tractor is not babied. It doesn't get polished and washed every time I put it away. And I believe in taking care of my stuff, but we use it, and we use it hard. I got busted lights up here that are being held on with Gorilla Tape. My the kickstand for my front end loader, I got it tied up with some more Gorilla Tape because it kept catching on the mid-mount mower, the drive on, drive off, the auto connect. And I'll address it in a different way when I have time. But we're on the move all the time. We got lots of stuff to do, managing the front 70, managing the back 80, trying to keep up with all of this stuff, while we're working as well. So anyway, if you haven't seen the rest of our videos, subscribe, because we got a ton of good stuff, and hit that like button. Check us out. We got a lot of great stuff, a lot of more stuff coming. The Habitat Oasis project, if you haven't seen that, it's awesome. It's about us returning an 80-acre strip mine back to native habitat, and we're working with a ton of nonprofits and government agencies to make that happen. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.